Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boom Bust channel, a Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host, Terry, and today talking about our first round pick in the 2025 NFL draft. Things got a little sideways for you, boy. It's just, things are going on. A lot of things are going on. We're moving past some stuff, but still got a lot of things to take care of. So this draft season started off very strong, didn't end the way I wanted it to, didn't get to do as much content as I wanted to, but at the same time, this draft class, it didn't really warrant a whole lot, to be quite honest. This draft class was kind of straightforward in terms of evaluations, at least. I think the discussion, there was a lot of discussion. There's a lot more opportunity for discussion this year because you had such a average draft class that, of course, the rounds are the rounds. That's what always, one of the things I always say. A number 3 pick in one year is not the same in the next year, and so on and so forth. So somebody has to go in the first round. Now, the way the first round played out showed you that. It was very interesting. Those, first of all, mock drafts already, for the most part. I commend the media in the last 2 years who have become very, hey, this is basically an insider mock draft. This is the intel that we're hearing, and I appreciate that. And some people will never be able to give you fully their intel because teams don't want you to tip their hand. So mock drafts are either just not informed or they're purposefully thrown off. So those are just whatever, but they're always going to be whatever. But if you want to play that game, they were completely off this year. I mean, stuff that nobody was talking about, which is just indicative of the class being so average, meaning that so many opinions are going to be formed on the same player and the same group of players. So again, there was a lot of opportunity for discussion that I did not take advantage of, or wasn't able to take advantage of the way I probably wanted to. But nonetheless, we're here. And yesterday was rough too, so I didn't get to talk about this yesterday. But still, we're here. I'm trying to think. Oh, and then the other thing I got to say, it breaks me up to say this, and I'll mention it again later. I think this might be the last draft for your boy. It might be the last draft, and I'll talk more on it later. And really, it's going to depend a lot on what happens with me post graduation, which is not happening right now for different reasons. So whenever I eventually finish my degree, hopefully in the near future, and depending on what happens, because there's a real chance that I will be pursuing work in the NFL. But even then, if I do that, I'm definitely not going to be able to do this. But even if I don't do that, I don't know. We'll see what the free time brings. But as of now, I'm losing my why behind it. And so that's not to say I'm not going to watch the draft and talk about stuff. But for me, it's just feeling like it makes more sense for me just to react and evaluate and dive into the players that the Bears draft. Now, I don't want to wait until the draft to watch players for the first time. The whole reason I started in the draft is because I really like to know the players in the league. So I got to figure out a way to do that. And it might just be me casually watching, but not putting my opinion out there, not making profiles, not tracking it. But yeah, it's a lot of work, and there's not a lot of, not to say that everything has to be monetized or everything, but you got to balance. You only got so much time and energy. So, it's purely a hobby. And right now it's just, I'm losing space for that hobby more and more every year. So as far as for the channel, I know that's what it was founded on, and I wanted to keep that at the core. But just, as of, like I said, we'll see if I get on a different platform, or if this platform grows, or something like that, then that's fine. I can always do draft stuff. But as of right now, I'm thinking this might be the last year that I dive fully into it with a full evaluation process. It might just look a little less going forward. So anyway, let's get into the Bears. We stick and pick at 10, and we get Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan. I already seen some discourse about people being upset, and like I said before, their discussion about the running back was real. It wasn't just the Ashton Genty thing. People really feel like we should get a running back. I haven't heard a great reason outside of the thought that, Ben Johnson was in Detroit. Like, that is I'm not even going to touch that. So there's people disappointed in that, and then there's just plain people who feel like there's other ways to go than getting a tight end, especially when we got Cole Kmet. Number one for me, and I said this in just the community, I didn't like talk about it in the episode, but I told you, like, I would be fine Tyler Warren, or in my mind, Tyler Warren. They're very different, so it depends on what you want to do. But in my mind, Tyler Warren was the better prospect. So I was just like, yeah, if he's there, I'll be fully on board with bolstering the offense, because number one, Keenan Allen's gone, whether we bring him back or not. But even then, even with what we had last year, they've shown in the scheme as well. And this is obviously a new scheme, but they've shown they don't get separation. Love Rome Odunze, and really I do think he can do it, but honestly, Tedero McMillan runs sharper routes than him. I won't say better, but he runs sharper routes than him, has a little bit more start and stop, and that's saying something because he's bigger than Rome. But Rome, I think, can do it the best out of the group. DJ Moore's not a route runner, never been one. Keenan Allen just really slowed and injured, and just he didn't have that juice, and the scheme, as I showed you on film, did not help us. Either way, all that tells me, and Kmet has zero separation. So all that tells me that yes, getting another pass option is perfectly within reason, especially when you talk about Colston Loveland, who is a big slot. I mean, I was thinking, it's funny, I was laying down thinking about it because I was up. The short version is I ended up going to bed real early yesterday and I was up early this morning and just kind of laying there, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, remind me of Kyle Pitts. I pulled up my evaluation literally on there, reminds me of Kyle Pitts. So you see how things in your mind go to the back of the mind subconsciously. But anyway, so yeah, and to be clear, Pitts is a different caliber athlete. But Colston's a very good athlete, and the way he was used or could be used is very similar to Pitts. Now, I know people, especially people that just look at numbers, will roll their eyes. Pitts is in a bad situation. I've been rooting for the Bears to go after Pitts. I've been rooting for somebody to go after Pitts, get him out of Atlanta. But this works well for me. And while Colston Loveland, especially last year, had a lot of reps at blocking, and I don't think he's bad. I think he's above average. I think he's probably just as good as Kmet. Actually, Kmet has been pretty bad lately, so he might be better. So as much as he has that, I mean, you're talking about a big slot receiver. Rome Odunze, I mean, DJ can do whatever. Odunze is definitely a perimeter guy. And now you got a big slot, and then you can inline with Cole Kmet, or you can switch it up. I rather inline Cole Kmet. He's just not great in space. So for the people that are like, we already got Cole Kmet, I hate to burst the bubble. And this happens literally for all those that have been listening to me for a long time. This literally happens every time. The Bears are raging on one thing, the fans are raging on one thing, and I have to say, hey, here's the counterpoint. Then somehow it swings to where now everybody's where I was, but they go too far, and I got to get other counterpoint. Everybody was saying Cole Kmet's a bust, and I was like, bro, what are you talking about? He had no opportunity. Like, I hate that. It's the same thing with Pitts and any other player. If you don't get the ball thrown to you, so you can't put up numbers. Like, I don't understand why is that so hard for people to realize. I don't know if y'all just bet or play fantasy, and so that's all you look at. But if you're not getting targets, you're not getting opportunities, then what is there to do? Like the system that Kmet was in and the way he was used, he wasn't getting those opportunities. Justin Fields was not able to get him the ball. And so soon as he started to get opportunities, then everybody became a Kmet fan. And now they're to the point where they're a little too much of a fan. Like look, I've shown y'all the film, the people that watch the film, blocking, very suspect. Separation, very suspect. Very, very good at kind of what he is with that possession. I mean, and it's a lot of tight ends. That's why I say tight ends are a dime a dozen. Very similar to receivers and running backs. If you get in a situation where you can be schemed up, and I don't mean schemed up to be wide open. I mean schemed up where you're in a scheme where you're going to be out on routes, get opportunities, but you got guys around you that command so much attention that you can run wide open down the middle and stuff, like a Hockenson in Detroit, then, you know, that's what it is. The production is not the sign of what makes a tight end. Production is not the sign of most players. But especially with tight end and receivers, that's not the sign that you have ability. Because anybody could really put up production if you got a high volume of opportunities, especially when you got other great players around you. So Kmet, solid for what he is, doesn't mean we can't bring another tight end. But even if he was great, look how many schemes we've had with multiple tight ends. Look how many around the league have multiple tight ends. Having two tight ends is not a bad thing at all, especially with Keenan Allen gone. You have two legit receivers as your options, and then you got two tight ends, and both of them that can flex. So if I want to run my double tight end do set, where I got two tight ends on the line to the right, two receivers to the left, or whatever, how you want to flip it, that's cool. If I want to flex out Loveland to the slot, and now I got three receivers to the left, and then close with the tight end to the right, Kmet, like it gives you a lot of flexibility, especially with different personnel packages, where you can have Kmet and Loveland out there and not substitute people in. So that's a nice little flex if you want to do that. But overall, I mean, I think a lot of people also point at the offensive line. Look, we did a lot of work, and I'll be the first to say this before the second round. I don't know that Jonah Jackson is the end-all be-all at right guard. I fully expect him to start there if healthy, but obviously I believe it was a 1-year contract, if not a 2-year. Obviously he's on a short-year contract, and not to say he can't be the long-term solution, but what we've seen from him, he's a one-style type of guard. He also has an injury history, and so we'll see kind of what that ends up being, but I don't think it's like we got Jonah Jackson, we don't need to draft anyone. Now, unfortunately, we did lose some great options. We'll see what Washington does, but they took Connerly. I'm fully expecting him to be a guard, but they're talking about right tackle. I thought they had a right tackle, but he might be. He's super athletic for a right tackle, but either way, so they got him. I'll maintain he could be a great guard. You got Donovan Jackson, obviously. Well, let me stick there. Donovan Jackson, unfortunately, is in the division with the Vikings. And then obviously you got Tyler Booker, went super high to the Cowboys. And so while there's still a lot of good offensive linemen prospects going into the second round, a lot of those interior guys did go. Now, some people, again, aren't thinking about the interior. They're thinking about tackle. The fact is there weren't these prospects. They weren't. I'm super happy Kelvin Banks went before us. I don't think we would have took him based on how fast we turned the pick in, but I don't know. Maybe we liked a lot of guys. But I just don't. I mean, Kelvin Banks going to right tackle most likely for the Saints, I think is a better option. But yeah, I'm not, and it's nothing against him. It's purely film. I don't know these people. I'm not as big of a fan as some people are. And honestly, I don't know how big of a fan. We know the talks around the league, he kind of started to fall in the mocks, but it only takes one team. So I don't know that they felt that way, but for me, there are some issues, specifically with length, definitely with ability to recover on blocks and all those things. So I don't think he was the left tackle that people were trying to build him up to be. And it seems like that is kind of playing out as the Saints are moving him to right tackle more than likely. But either way, he goes, Will Campbell goes before we can get there. And those were kind of the quote unquote tackle prospects, but I don't think they're great. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Cameron Williams from Texas, I think Anthony Belton from NC State, and I think Emory Jones from LSU, all right tackles. But I think they are much better than people are giving them credit for. Much better. And so we'll see where they go. But I mean, I don't think Darnell Wright is a left tackle. Now, the only thing I can say is I felt the same way about Taylor Decker, and he's always been okay, like above average, but he did work well with the scheme that Ben Johnson had. But again, we're grasping at straws. We don't know what Detroit's going to do, or not Detroit. Sorry, we don't know what our offense is going to look like in comparison to Detroit, and so I can't. It's tough to say, but I would say for the most part, in traditional sense, Darnell Wright's not a left tackle. Most of these guys that are left in this draft aren't left tackles. So when you bring in 3 guys, 2 that you pay big money to on the interior, and you have a top 10 pick at right tackle, I don't know what exactly is everybody looking for. And I don't know that Kieran Amagaji is going to be, ever be that guy. But you got him too to compete. I don't know what it is people want. Do you just want to force a left tackle in there? I'm not sure. But I saw the complaints. And the only thing that I would say against what we did is maybe defensive line, but the thing is, there's a ton, especially defensive tackle there. So Tyleik Williams, who's now also in the division, and I think he's a little bit of a boom or a bust, but he's got great potential. That's a guy that most people thought was going to be second, third round, and he went first. So again, you see the variance on opinions, but you're talking about how deep that group is, because they're very average, but that's a huge deep group. The guys that I like the most at D tackle aren't even being talked about, and so there's so many of them at D tackle. Edge, it's not as deep, but you got a lot of different options. I don't think any of them are top flight besides Abdul Carter, obviously, but you got a lot of them. Now we've seen some go. Mikael Williams went way higher than people thought. I was a big fan of his. I'm not a big Jalen Walker fan, so him going before Jalen Walker didn't shock me. But he went. Jalen Walker went. Pierce went. Shamar Stewart went, and he's all ceiling right now. But you still got a big group of pass rushers that are on the board, including Mike Green, who didn't get drafted, and then Ezraku, root to the good bruh. So there's a lot of options going into this day, which they knew there would be. And so tight end, while a good group, they weren't going to be last to the second round necessarily. Same with receiver, because there's just not as many options. So I'm not mad with what we did. And running back too, there's a big group. So if we did want to get a running back, there's a big group. I mean, you still, I believe, I don't want to talk out of turn. I'm not sure if Travion Henderson is still there, but I know Judkins is, and then some other people too. So I was not mad at the pick. I mean, you really look at our roster, and we have very specific needs. The way the roster's been constructed, we got a lot of returning talent at most of the positions. And so I've been saying this even going into the draft and free agency. There's only a handful of areas we really need to look at. Running back was never one for me. I'm not sure why everybody's on that, but that wasn't one for me. So I look at this pick and I'm fine with it. And I think he'll be great. I expect Ben Johnson to use him and put him in position to be great. So, but I mean, he played at Michigan, even though Michigan wasn't great this year. But I'm sure everybody watched the highlights. It's the first round, and we picked early, so you had all night to watch the highlights. So I don't got to tell you what he is. You should know what he is. He's a jumbo receiver. He's got some Big Ten grinded out experience, but he's also a big receiver. That's going to be a plus mismatch in the slot, and I'm looking forward to it. So go down comment section, let me know what you think. Share it around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and remember, stay up and bear down. Oh, wait. Whoa. I forgot. I want to talk about tonight. How could I be so silly? All right, so tonight, I'm pulling up this list of people that haven't been drafted because there's a lot going on. We got 2 picks. I don't remember the exact number like where we are, but we got 2 picks, and there's some guys on the list. A handful of guys. I mean, there's so many ways we could go, and so I'm trying to look at this. For me, my mind definitely goes towards Mike Green. Now, I don't know that he makes it to us or that I want us to trade to move. I don't want us to trade our 2 second-round picks to move up, which I don't think we would. But if we want to trade something later to move up and still be able to pick twice in the second round, I'd be down for that. So Mike Green is worth it. I mean, that's probably the most well put together pass rusher in the draft in terms of the whole body of pass rushing. There's the question of some off the field. There's a question of the level of competition he played. So you got that. But yeah, I mean, as long as the character is, they got good checks on that, I would be happy to move up to try to get to him. Ezaraku, I would assume we'll have a shot at him. I don't like him as much as other people do, but I do think he's definitely a good piece to have in terms of character and effort. So I wouldn't be super mad at that, but I don't think that's necessarily a slam dunk. Other than that, trying to see, Landon Jackson would be interesting. I like him. I heard he's getting more buzz, but obviously he's in the second round. I like him, but I wouldn't go out of my way for him. Trying to see, you got JT from Ohio State, as well as Jack Sawyer, who probably will go in the third round. But I really like both of them. I got some sleeper receivers, but obviously we don't really necessarily need receiver. The one that I would be really curious to look at is if we mess around with what's his name? Ursery from Minnesota. Now, apparently there's some real off the field issues with Ursery, but most people that I've talked to, they are on board with him as a first round caliber player, but it's the off the field stuff that, obviously they'll have to look at. But man, I don't know that I feel super strong about any one player. Because even on the offensive line wise, like I said, there's not, at this point in the second round, I don't know that there's like, oh my God, we have to get him player on the board. But defensive tackle wise or D-line wise, there's a ton of options. Now, me personally, I'm a big fan of TJ Sanders. I'm a big fan of Shamar Turner. who I thought was better than Shamar Stewart. I like them, and they haven't been talked about whatsoever, which confuses me. But I'm a huge fan of them, and I think either one could be an excellent 3 technique in the NFL. So I'd be curious if we go that route. Like I said, Ursery, Emory Jones, Belton, those guys are around at tackle, but they're right tackles, but it's something you can do. Kevin Winston Jr., I think if he's healthy, that's going to be the next, I won't say great, but he'll be a really good free safety if he's coached up right, out of Penn State. If Brisker ends up being healthy and clear, this year, then we can have a Penn State combo there, or at least he could be a substitutional safety and, bring him in a dime or nickel. I think that'd be cool. So, and maybe the Bears do look at running back. If that's the case, I'm not real deep in looking at running back, so we'll see. Now, Jordan Birch, I like. Also like Alfred Collins from Texas. Birch, to me, everybody's saying he's a tweener, he's an edge. To me, he's a 3-tech. And I say this darn near every year. There's guys that people call tweeners, and I'm like, that is a 3-tech. That is not an edge guy. He is a 3-tech, and you see all the time where these guys get drafted and their career gets stunted or ruined because people don't know where to put them. And so for me, this is the case. Birch he had running back snaps on offense, a good number of them, and he ran their fake punts at Oregon. You talking about a guy with extreme hip fluidity for a big man, good burst and everything. Now he doesn't have the length and the moves to win on the edge, especially in the NFL, but in the 3-tech one-on-one situation, I think he could be great. So Birch, Alfred Collins, Shamar Turner, TJ Sanders, all guys I'd be very happy to have. Again, if Ursery is not like completely horrible off the field, I'd be happy if we grabbed him. Trying to think if I have any other favorite players to match what we need. I mean, we signed Gordon, so he's going to be our long-term nickel. Our linebackers are really legit and set. I mean, another corner, but this isn't a great corner class, so I don't really know what you do there. But if for whatever reason we would have go to receiver, whether it was, second round or we traded back third round, whatever, I would have my eyes on what's his first name? Jalen Royals out of Utah State. Reminds me of Rashee Rice coming out of SMU. Almost uncannily, I think he would be a great low-key pick. Probably will be there in the third, but at this point, I don't know. I really don't. Oh, and then the other one I really like, Princely from Ole Miss as a situational edge rusher. Really like what he could bring. Not sure when he will go either. So a lot of different options there. But anyway, tell me what you think. Not think what we'll do. What do you want us to do in the second round and third round today? Because I believe we got a third round pick if I'm not mistaken. So who would you like to see us go after? Go down comment section, let me know. Share it around, get the conversation started. And remember, stay up and bear down.